Resident Evil Requiem is blowing up on Nintendo Switch 2 because this shows what third-party developers can achieve, especially sales-wise, and I would just say notoriety-wise, when you get the games out day and date and they're good on the Nintendo Switch 2, because now at this point, we're seeing that the Switch 2 is viable for these type of AAA games. And here is the proof. If you look at the eShop right now at this point, there is multiple versions of Resident Evil Requiem that are just dominating the top of the charts. Now, how they do it, highest grossing revenue for the last 3 days, and it kind of changes quite a bit. But if you look at it, there's no number one spot, and Resident Evil Requiem absolutely is making the most now at this point because it's at the number 2, 3, and 8th spot on the Nintendo Switch 2 eShop. At number 2 with the Resident Evil Gen Pack, that includes Resident Evil 7, 8, and Requiem all together. Great package for $90. So you get Resident Evil Requiem for $70, and then you get Resident Evil 7 and 8. Those are both gold editions that include all of the updates and everything, and they're really good ports too. You get those for $10 a pop, so it comes out to $90. People are snapping that up. Resident Evil Requiem, just the regular edition of the game, in at number 3, and then Resident Evil Requiem Deluxe Edition, that is, I think, the $80 edition for the game. So if you total all of that up, it shows that there is a big launch for this game, and that's what I was trying to tell people, that if you can get day and date big multi-platform games that are good on the Nintendo Switch 2, run, look, play good, you can make a lot of money and it can be a viable platform despite it not being as pretty graphics wise as Xbox Series or PC or PlayStation. So I think it's going to be really interesting to see if there's any platform breakdown. Capcom usually doesn't do, but maybe we'll get something from that. Another interesting thing to note too is that the physical edition of Resident Evil Requiem on the Nintendo Switch 2, which is a key card, seems to be doing quite well. It's sold out on Amazon, and multiple different retailers show that you can't get it. And the Generations pack that comes with 3 of the key cards with Resident Evil 7, 8, and 9, that is also sold out. But I'm guessing that Capcom did limited quantities of the Generations pack, and the key card, I'm not sure if they could really gauge how popular it was going to be or not, but it also seems like PlayStation 5 is having some shortages, so Capcom might have undershipped this one to kind of entice more people to buy digital. Either way, people are picking up the physical copies of Resident Evil Requiem across all the different platforms. Now, here's another cool fun fact about Resident Evil Requiem on the Nintendo Switch 2. We're going to talk about that, then we're going to get into my first gameplay impressions on PlayStation 5 Pro and Nintendo Switch 2. I was able to get my Resident Evil Generations pack at night, so I was like, okay, let me go ahead and play the game and let me capture footage, so you guys are going to be seeing a lot of that. But here's the fun fact about Resident Evil Requiem. Resident Evil Requiem on Nintendo Switch 2, this is the first time ever that a multi-platform mainline numbered Resident Evil title has launched day and date on a Nintendo platform. In the past, it was either just a timed exclusive, or it came later in some type of way, or it was set as like an exclusive and then came over to other platforms like Resident Evil 0 or Resident Evil Remake, the original. But this is a multi-platform set mainline game, and it's never happened before. It's always been something weird happening with Resident Evil and Nintendo platforms. So this is, I would say, encouraging with the sales numbers that we're getting here. I'm pretty sure Capcom is blown away by the support now, and it's awesome to see that, and hopefully that continues with other Resident Evil games. But before we get into my first impressions of the PS5 Pro and Nintendo Switch 2 versions of the game, please make sure you hit that like button, subscribe if you're someone new, and click that notification to get the best Nintendo Switch 2 RPG content and more right here. Okay, let's go ahead and jump into this because I have some PS5 Pro impressions before I get into my Nintendo Switch 2 impressions. So on PS5 Pro, it looks excellent on the system. The PS5 Pro is a pricey, expensive system, and I think with Resident Evil Requiem, you're actually tapping in and using some of that power. They have the update for PSSR, which is Sony's own upscaling technology, and it makes the hair look nice when it comes to Resident Evil Requiem on the PlayStation 5 Pro. So it's definitely really good on there. Now, is it worth going out there and picking up a PS5 Pro for $750 plus tax. And if you want to play physical games, another $80. Probably not, but it is a nice option if you have it, or if you play PlayStation a lot, then it's something that you might want to invest into. Now, the 4K 60 FPS, and it has ray tracing, or I think there's even 120 FPS in the options without ray tracing. I played it with the ray tracing and the 4K 60, and it looks great. I played it on my monitor, and it looked very sharp. I have a 27-inch OLED MSI monitor, and it's fantastic. It's super responsive, and it just looked awesome, played great. Resident Evil, the RE engine, just shines on the PlayStation 5 Pro. The DualSense controller is very nice. It feels great to shoot with Leon or with Grace as well. It felt really good to play through. And they have this nice little dynamic between the two, where Grace, it's more of the, I would say, traditional survival horror, like the Resident Evil 7 experience. And then with Leon, that is the guns a-blazing, powerful OP type of Resident Evil 4, Resident Evil 5, Resident Evil 6 experience. They kind of blend those and weave them together. It's actually really, really cool. And once again, feels great to play on the DualSense controller. Now, let's talk about my Nintendo Switch 2 impressions, because this is a very different version of the game, but it's also the same thing. Now, it doesn't run as good. It's targeting 60 FPS, but you can tell that there's times when there's a lot of stuff happening, a really big enemy or something like that. Some hits come to the frame rate, but it recovers and it doesn't feel laggy or choppy when you play. And given what the Nintendo Switch 2 hardware is, it's very impressive to see this type of game running on there. They couldn't get games like Resident Evil 7 and Resident Evil 8 to run properly on the Nintendo Switch 1, so they had to make cloud versions. But with the Nintendo Switch 2, you can get those games running, and you can actually have some pretty decent results as well. But probably the incredible thing with this, the most impressive thing, is the fact that you can play this fully fledged Resident Evil game portable. This is absolutely, in my opinion, revolutionary to potentially getting more out of Resident Evil, because Resident Evil, it's not a super long game. It doesn't take super long to beat it, but there's multiple playthroughs, there's built-in achievements, there are a bunch of extra things that you can do in the game. You can hunt for a lot of different stuff, so there's lots of replay value, and having a portable version where you can play lying down in bed, or while you're watching TV, or hanging out somewhere else, or whatever the case is, on vacation, that gives you more opportunities to play the game and really experience everything that Resident Evil has to offer. Plus, it just looks and runs good even in portable mode. They did a great job of the optimization, and I do feel that this is going to be a very popular version for people to pick up and play, having that option to play it on the TV and it looks good, but then also having that portable Resident Evil experience, which has been a thing in the past. There's been multiple portable Resident Evil titles. Resident Evil Revelations, for example, was one of the games that came out and people really liked on the Nintendo 3DS, and later on the Nintendo Switch 1 for portable play. So I do think that that is a really big benefit here with this game. It looks sharp and nice portable on the Nintendo Switch 2. The only thing that I would say is that the hair graphics aren't quite as good. You can tell that it's a bit of a downgrade, although once you keep on playing and all that, you get used to it. Your eyes kind of adjust, but if you're playing from PS5 Pro, then to this, it's definitely noticeable, or PC to this, or Xbox Series, noticeable there. But once again, the quality is still very nice when it comes to the performance of the game. And I would say that it sets a new standard for AAA ports on the Nintendo Switch 2. We've had some really good ones. Cyberpunk 2077, Street Fighter 6, Assassin's Creed Shadows, Star Wars Outlaws. There's already a lot of good AAA ports on the Nintendo Switch 2, but this one with a brand new game, day and date, that's the difference with the other games. And obviously they couldn't be day and date because those games launched before on previous platforms, but seeing this come out with the hype and with everything and what they've been able to do to target 60 FPS, that is what sets, I would say, the new precedent, as it targets that 60 FPS. So very good to see that with a game that's come out currently, and I'm very excited to see the future of what other developers can do with this. I'll also say the HD Rumble 2 is really nice, and if you're used to playing games on the Nintendo Switch 2, the control layout and what they've done here just feels great to play. I really like Leon's stuff. I like Leon. He's my favorite Resident Evil character. And while the gray stuff is great, like, I think it's really cool. It's the classic Resident Evil experience. The first area really reminds me of Resident Evil 2, for example, going and getting certain things and solving certain puzzles and looking at different stuff, putting different code combinations to get little medallions to put into stuff. Like, that's all the Resident Evil stuff that you're used to, and it's very nice. Seems like things are starting to get a bit more interesting here, we'll see what happens in March when it comes to potential new shows or rumors we get of a Nintendo Direct or other things. But I do think that people are now seeing kind of more of what the system offers with a game like Resident Evil that can show that it can do pretty good graphics and it's not bad at all. And you can get that day and date along with the Nintendo first party exclusives as well. So I expect 2026 to be a big year for the Nintendo Switch 2. Despite Pokemon Winds and Waves coming out in 2027, I think people are going to pick up a Switch 2 now at this point to be ready for that game and start out with the games that maybe they missed out on last year: Donkey Kong Bonanza, Mario Kart World, and more. So what do you guys think about everything here? I know there was a lot to go over. Let me know in the comment section below. All right, guys, that wraps it up for this video here. Thank you so much for watching. I do appreciate it. Please make sure you hit that like button, subscribe if you're someone new, click that notification bell, and check out my other Nintendo Switch 2 RPG content and more right here on screen. Thanks for watching, and we'll catch you guys for the next one. Peace.